Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. So today we're going to be going through the polling data from Monday, October 15th, 2018. So we're about halfway through the month of October, and October surprises aren't really too prominent. I mean, they were discussed very heavily in terms of what could come out for a number of these incumbents, considering many of them are Democrats, but it doesn't seem like much is going to come out leading into the election season. But again, we're around 3 weeks away from the actual election, so a lot can happen, but at this point in time, it may not be too likely considering not much has come out in terms of, I guess, scandals in a number of these states. So right now we're looking at data that pretty much is right now pretty good for the Democrats in House races, but in the Senate races, we're just seeing a drawback away from the Democratic Party. In the Nevada Senate race, this is an area where Democrats really think they have a shot in. Keep in mind, this is a Clinton state from 2016. This is not me trying to push a Republican agenda, because I've seen that in many of my comment sections, but the data is not helping the Democratic Party. This close to the election season, for some reason, the Democratic Party is holding on to their national lead, but narrowing down in the Senate races. And when I say narrow down, right now, Dean Heller, the incumbent, is leading by 7%. Those were not the numbers we saw months ago. So what changed? Now, yes, candidates do matter, but this is not a singular event. We see this in North Dakota, in Texas, in Tennessee, in Arizona, a sudden draw away from these Democratic candidates. It could be Kavanaugh, it could be Trump, it could be a combination of both or neither. But right now, looking at the data itself, it is not showing good news for the Democratic Party in states like Nevada, in states like Texas, states like Tennessee, states like Arizona, which have suddenly drifted away from their Democratic candidates by larger margins than the Democrats were leading by. For example, Arizona, McSally +6, Texas, Cruz +9, going over to Nevada from Rosen +1 to Heller +7. Go over to Tennessee, Blackburn +14 according to the CNN poll. So North Dakota, Kevin Cramer +12. We're seeing a lot of data that doesn't necessarily help the Democratic Party whatsoever, and it's not just Nevada. So Nevada is probably one of the better areas to show you, where Rosen went from +4 all the way down to Heller +7. And this is going to be very bad for Democrats if they lose here, because they won here in 2016. And for some reason, they are doing well in Trump states from 2016, but it's not enough to keep them at bay in terms of the majority. The Maryland Senate race, not too contested. For some reason, Neil Simon is actually gaining 18% of the vote. I've seen a number of signs outside of my house that say, vote for an independent voice, and that is Neil Simon. He's running as an independent in the state of Maryland. In fact, they don't really have a picture of him here, but he went from 8% to 18%, so an increase there. But you know what? Cardin's probably going to win this. I mean, he's leading by 27%. He's a Democrat in a Democratic state. Not likely that the independent pulls us off in third place, much less Republican in the state of Maryland for a Senate race, whereas the governor's race probably going to be a little bit different. In the Utah Senate race, Mitt Romney leads by 36%. That is an improved margin from around the 20s, but it was 26, so it's gone up by 10%, which is very good, to say the least. If Orrin Hatch still ran, that race probably would have been a toss-up at this point in time. Now we've covered all the Senate races. Again, these numbers do benefit the Republican Party. We're seeing states like Nevada have turns towards the Republican Party for whatever reason. It's just very interesting to see how this race, this close to the election season, has all of a sudden gone nearing double digits. +7 is only 3 away from 10 and 7 away from a Democratic win. So obviously there's a difference there. In terms of the Maryland Senate race, we're never going to see real information from that race, other than the fact that an independent candidate in a Senate race in a Democratic state, in a Democratic wave year with a Democratic incumbent against a Republican president right now has 18% of the vote. So that seems pretty unlikely, but it is possible, and it is showing in the polls. The Utah Senate race, again, we're not seeing much data there, just an improvement by 10% for Mitt Romney. So now let's move into the governor's races. We have 2 polls here, the Nevada governor race. Right now, Laxalt leads by 5%. So Dean Heller leading by 7%, and then Laxalt leads by 5%. You can be pretty comfortable saying that Rosen and Sisolak have the same voting base. They're both at 41%. So when we look at the data itself, it seems like Heller could be dragging Laxalt over the finish line, considering he has more voters there. Now, this poll could be askew, but we're seeing a lot of consistent data in both the governor's race and the race for the Senate, where all of a sudden it has gone in the favor of the Republican Party from the Democratic Party. Before, it was Sisolak +4, then Laxalt +1, and now Laxalt +5. You can see the same trend in the Nevada Senate race, where Jackie Rosen led by 4, and then Dean Heller by 2, Dean Heller by 2 again, and then Emerson shows him leading by 7%. Again, a 7% margin is not likely in the state of Nevada. It's just interesting to see how much it has swung from Democrats leading by 4 to Heller +7, a 12-point swing. In in the New Hampshire governor race, this one isn't too contested. Chris Sununu is expected to win, considering he's one of the more popular governors in the United States. I mean, he's in the top 10 as a Republican from a Democratic state. So when we look at this data, it's not too contested. Right now, it's leans GOP, which is pretty surprising to me. I expect it to be in the likely or even safe, because look at these numbers, 21, 16, 16. So lean GOP is a little surprising. That may be off because they don't necessarily update that as much as they update the map. But we've covered the governor's races and we covered the Senate races. A lot of red up there, but again, some safe states more than others. And then we go into the Virginia 2nd District race. Right now, Taylor leads by 7%. Let's see. Scott Taylor, Lane Luria. Right now, he leads by 7.5%. This is a lean GOP district. Trump won here by 3.4%. Romney won here by 2.3%. So it was a little bit more contested back then compared to the numbers we're seeing now. So right now, looking at these, is just the pure data. It looks pretty good for the GOP in this district, but this is not an area the Democrats are widely expecting to win in. In the Pennsylvania 1st District, however, right now Wallace is not the incumbent. Fitzpatrick is the incumbent. We're seeing a little bit of conflicting data here. Fitzpatrick +1, +4, and then Wallace +7. But the New York Times polls are pretty accurate, and they also show you a lot more information than what you might expect. Also, Clinton won here by 2%. Obama won here by 1.9%. So this is one of the few districts where Clinton actually improved on Obama's margin in a state that she lost, whereas Obama was able to win it by double digits in 2008 and then by single digits in 2012. And moving over to the Minnesota 8th District, this is an area where the Democrats have an incumbent, but the Republicans lead by 15%. So when we're looking here, there was a poll from the New York Times before, showed the Democrat leading by 1%. Well, now it has changed drastically to a Republican leading by 15%. Now here's the shocker. Obama won here by 5.5%. Trump won here by 15.6%. So a 20.1 swing in the favor of the GOP. And right now we're seeing the Democrat lead by 1% in a poll taken more than a month ago. And all of a sudden now the GOP leads by 15% within the same district, the same areas polled. It just so happened that they changed drastically on that. So right now that race is going to be watched heavily, mainly because the GOP could have lost here, but they aren't losing here. The Democrats, this is their race to lose because they currently have an incumbent who is a Democrat from this district. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for the GOP to be really focusing on this district because they aren't really looking for pickups. They're really focusing on holding on to their races. But if they're able to get a pickup here, they're probably able to get a pickup elsewhere, which could balance out the House at the end of 2018. So we've covered Pennsylvania 1st, Virginia 2nd, Minnesota 8th. Now we move over to the Nevada races, 3rd and 4th. Right now, the 4th district race is currently rated as a leaning Democratic state. It went from Obama plus 10.7 to Obama to Clinton plus 4.9, and the Democrat leads by 2%. Now in the 3rd district race, this is a toss-up race. Obama won here by 0.8%, and then Trump won here by 1%. And right now, the Democratic candidate leads by 2%. So that's pretty good for the Democrats there in both of those Nevada districts, but for some reason, just not coming from the Nevada Senate race, not coming from the Nevada governor race. So people may be voting differently, or there's a lot of undecided voters, which is pretty expected, 36-34, 41-39, whereas the Senate race, 48-41. In the Nevada governor race, 46-41, a lot less uncontested voters. In the North Carolina 13th district race, right now, Bud leads by 3% as the incumbent against Kathy Manning. The New York Times poll shows +6, and then the Survey USA poll shows +3. So right now is a toss-up. Romney won here by 6.8%. Trump won here by 9.4%. So still expected to be a Republican district at heart in terms of the presidential election. The Democrats probably not focusing too heavily on it here. Now, in the New Hampshire races, we have one from the 1st district, which is always contested. The 2nd district, not so much. In the 1st district, right now, it is rated as a leaning Democratic seat. But Obama won here by 1.6%, and then Trump won here by 1.6%. So an exact swing here. But right now, the Democrat is winning by 5% in this district. So that's pretty good for the Democratic Party. It's a leaning Democratic district. Now, this is a likely Democratic district from the 2nd district in the state of New Hampshire. Right now, looking at the numbers, the Democrat leads by 19%. But she is the incumbent, so that is pretty much expected. But for some reason, it's really surprising to me why the incumbent in the 1st district did retire, because this is a Democratic wave year. You're easily going to win these 2 years if someone who is an open seat is winning here as a Democrat. So when we're looking at the numbers here, I don't see any clear reason as to why. Maybe there's a scandal that I didn't hear about or something like that. But I know that candidate in the first district ran against previous incumbent, and they flipped back and forth depending on whichever wave year it was. But neither of them are running this election year, which is also pretty surprising to me. And the President Trump job approval rating, Gallup actually shows him at 44%. Keep in mind, Gallup at one point had him at 34%, so it has improved. Right now, if we're looking at the overall average, Trump is at 43.3%, so not the worst. Yes, he has spiked up from before, so literally spiked up by single digits, obviously, but still, nonetheless, in the direction of the country, Rasmussen report shows wrong track +8. I don't believe those numbers because we're looking at the overall spread. It's -14. And most of the numbers before were pretty negative, but they have narrowed down since Trump became president, which is pretty surprising to me. So Trump becomes president right around here. All of a sudden, it narrows for whatever reason. It could be State of the Union, whatever it may be. Whatever factors were influencing the environment there. Over here, I think this is exactly like during Obama's presidency. Whatever. That's just polling data that doesn't really have any real implications for the 2018 midterm elections. That pretty much covers today's video. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.